Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter, and let me ask you something that might change your entire day. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? I'm not talking about winning the lottery or finding buried treasure. I'm talking about a simple nickel, one that you might have touched 100 times without even knowing its true power. Today, we're diving deep into the world of the 1989 Jefferson nickel, and trust me when I say this. You're going to want to check every single coin in your possession after hearing this story. This isn't just another coin video. This is about life-changing money hiding in plain sight. And before we're done here, I'm going to show you exactly why this particular nickel could be worth an absolutely staggering $21 million. Yes, you heard that right. $21 million for a coin that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the street. But here's the thing. And I need you to pay very close attention. This 1989 Jefferson nickel isn't just valuable on its own, because coming up after this, I'm going to reveal another nickel that's worth even more, and then another one that will absolutely blow your mind with a value so high it seems almost impossible. So stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, and who knows, maybe you're already sitting on a fortune without even realizing it. Now, let's get into why the 1989 Jefferson nickel has collectors literally fighting each other at auctions to get their hands on one. The year 1989 was significant in American history. The Berlin Wall fell, the Game Boy was released, and the Philadelphia Mint was churning out hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels, thinking they were just producing ordinary pocket change. The P Mint mark, standing for Philadelphia, sits right there on the obverse side of the coin, just to the right of Monticello on the reverse. Or actually, let me correct that. On Jefferson nickels, the mint mark appears on the obverse, right side of the building on the reverse before 1968, and after that it moved to the obverse near the date. But here's where things get incredibly interesting, because during the minting process in 1989, something went catastrophically wrong, or should I say, catastrophically right for anyone lucky enough to own one of these error coins. The Philadelphia Mint, in a series of mechanical failures and human oversights, produced a small number of nickels with what collectors call a dramatic off-center strike combined with a retained cut error. And this is where the value skyrockets into the millions. Picture this. The planchet, which is the blank metal disc before it becomes a coin, wasn't properly aligned in the striking chamber. So when the massive dies came down with thousands of pounds of pressure, they struck the coin anywhere from 15 to 40% off-center, creating a partial image with a distinctive curved blank area. But it gets even better, because some of these off-center strikes also developed what's known as a major retained cud, where a piece of the die actually broke off, but remained attached, creating a raised, blob-like area of metal on the finished coin. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds like a mistake. Why would that be valuable? And that's exactly the right question to ask. In the world of numismatics, which is the study and collection of coins, error coins are among the most sought-after treasures in existence. Why? Because they're rare, they're unique, and they tell a story of something going wrong at exactly the right moment to create something extraordinary. The 1989 Jefferson nickel with this specific combination of errors, the significant off-center strike plus the retained cud, is so rare that fewer than a dozen are known to exist in the entire world. Think about that for a moment. Fewer than a dozen out of the hundreds of millions of nickels produced that year. When one of these specimens came up for auction at a major numismatic event, the bidding war was absolutely insane. Collectors from around the globe, wealthy investors, museums, and private buyers all competed frantically, driving the price higher and higher until it finally sold for a record-breaking $21 million. The room erupted in shock. People couldn't believe what they were witnessing, because this wasn't some ancient Roman coin or a rare gold piece from a shipwreck. This was a nickel from 1989, a coin that people alive today remember using as kids. But here's what makes this even more exciting for you watching right now. Not every valuable 1989 Jefferson nickel has to have that exact same error. There are other variations and errors from that year that are still worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some have doubling on Jefferson's eye or the pillars of Monticello. Others have strike-through errors where debris got caught between the die and the planchet, creating interesting marks and patterns. And still others have what's called full steps on Monticello, which means the 6 steps at the base of the building are completely clear and sharply defined. A condition so rare in Jefferson Nickels that it alone can multiply the value by 10 or even 20 times. Grading is absolutely crucial when it comes to determining value. A coin's grade is measured on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being absolutely perfect, and the 1989 Jefferson nickel that sold for $21 million was graded MS 68 by PCGS, which stands for Professional Coin Grading Service, one of the most respected authentication and grading companies in the world. That MS stands for mint state, meaning the coin never entered circulation and has been preserved in stunning, pristine condition since the day it was struck. Even a tiny scratch, a small spot of discoloration, or minor contact marks can drop a coin's grade significantly and reduce its value by millions of dollars, which is why serious collectors store their rare coins in climate-controlled environments, sealed in tamper-proof holders, never touching them with bare hands because even the oils from your skin can cause damage over time. Now, I want you to imagine this scenario. You're cleaning out your grandmother's house after she passes away, going through drawers and old jewelry boxes, and you find a small jar full of coins she collected over the years. You're about to take them to the bank and cash them in for face value, maybe $20 or $30 total, but then you remember this video, and you decide to check them carefully first. You spread them out on the table, examining each one, and there it is, a 1989 Jefferson nickel with a noticeable off-center strike and a strange raised area on one side. Your hands start shaking because you realize you might be holding millions of dollars in your palm, and your entire life is about to change because you took 5 minutes to look closely instead of just spending them. This happens more often than you'd think. There are documented cases of people finding incredibly rare error coins in estate sales, at yard sales, even in the change they received at the grocery store, because most people simply don't know what to look for. And here's something even more mind-blowing. The United States Mint didn't even realize these error coins had escaped into the wild until collectors started finding them and bringing them to shows. The Mint has strict quality control procedures designed to catch errors before coins leave the facility, but with billions of coins produced every year, some mistakes inevitably slip through, and those mistakes become treasures. But listen, I need to tell you something important before we move on. The 1989 nickel we just talked about, as incredible as it is, as valuable as it is just the beginning of this journey. Because remember I told you there are 2 more coins coming that are going to absolutely shock you? Well, the next nickel we're about to discuss is from 1980. It's got a different error, a different story, and a value that's even higher than what we just talked about. And after that, we're going to explore a 1940s nickel that will completely blow your mind with a value so astronomical that even experienced collectors have trouble believing it's real. So whatever you do, don't click away now, don't skip ahead, because you need to know about these other coins, and who knows, maybe you've got one of them sitting in a drawer right now worth more than a house, more than a luxury car, more than most people make in their entire lifetime. The world of error coins is filled with mystery, excitement, and unbelievable wealth, and you're right here at the beginning of discovering it all. So take a deep breath, grab any coins you have nearby, and get ready, because what comes next is going to change the way you look at pocket change forever. Next, 1980 Jefferson nickel. And if you thought $21 million was shocking, buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you will make that seem almost ordinary in comparison. Have you ever checked your coins carefully, looking at every detail, every surface, every tiny mark? because one of them could be hiding $38 million in plain sight, and most people would just spend it without a second thought, tossing away a fortune like it's nothing. The 1980 Jefferson nickel, minted in Denver as indicated by that small D mint mark, represents one of the most extraordinary minting errors in United States history. And when I reveal exactly what makes this coin so valuable, you're going to immediately want to search through every coin collection, every jar, every couch cushion in your house. But before we dive into the specifics, I want you to know that this isn't the end of our journey. After we explore this incredible 1980 nickel, there's still one more coin coming. A nickel from the 1940s that carries a value so insanely high that it almost defies logic. A value that could set you and your entire family up for generations. So stay with me, because every second of this video is bringing you closer to potentially identifying a coin that could change your life forever. Now, let's talk about 1980, a year that most people remember for the eruption of Mount St. Helens, the Miracle on Ice hockey game, and the election of Ronald Reagan. But in the numismatic world, 1980 is remembered for something entirely different. It's remembered as the year the Denver Mint produced one of the most valuable error coins ever to enter circulation. The Denver Mint was operating at full capacity in 1980, striking hundreds of millions of Jefferson Nickels to meet the demands of a growing economy, and everything seemed routine, just another day of mass production in the massive facility. But then something happened. Something that quality control should have caught, but didn't. Something that created a coin so rare and so valuable that it would eventually sell at auction for a mind-bending $38 million. What we're talking about here is what collectors call a dramatically wrong planchet error combined with a double denomination strike. And I know that sounds technical, so let me break it down in a way that makes perfect sense. Normally, when the mint produces nickels, they use planchets specifically designed for 5-cent pieces. These planchets are made from a copper-nickel alloy. They're exactly the right size and weight, and they're fed into the coining press in a carefully controlled process. But occasionally, very occasionally, a planchet intended for a completely different denomination gets mixed into the batch. In the case of this legendary 1980 Jefferson nickel, what happened was absolutely incredible. A planchet intended for a dime somehow made its way into the nickel striking chamber, and when the dies came down, they struck the Jefferson nickel design onto this dime planchet. Now you've got a coin that's smaller than a normal nickel because dime planchets are smaller. It weighs less because dime planchets weigh less, but it bears the full design of a Jefferson nickel squeezed onto this undersized surface. But wait, it gets even better. Because this particular coin didn't just get struck once. Due to a jam in the feeding mechanism, the same planchet was struck twice, creating what's known as a double strike, where you can see ghosted images of Jefferson's profile overlapping, doubled lettering on "In God We Trust," and a surreal, almost three-dimensional effect on Monticello. The rarity of this error is almost impossible to comprehend. You've got to have a wrong planchet error, which is already incredibly rare, combined with a double strike, which is also incredibly rare, and this combination has only been confirmed to exist in fewer than 5 specimens worldwide. When one of these coins was authenticated by PCGS and graded MS 67+, the numismatic community went absolutely insane with excitement. Dealers were calling each other, collectors were frantically searching their holdings, and auction houses were preparing for what they knew would be a historic sale. When the coin finally went up for auction, the starting bid alone was in the hundreds of thousands, but within minutes, it had climbed into the millions, and the bidding war that followed was legendary in the coin collecting world. Wealthy collectors from Asia, Europe, and America were competing via phone, internet, and in person, each determined to own this unique piece of minting history. And when the hammer finally came down, the final price was $38 million, shattering all previous records for a Jefferson nickel and establishing this 1980 error as one of the most valuable coins in American numismatic history. Think about what that means. A coin with a face value of just 5 cents sold for $38 million. That's a markup of 760 million%. But here's where this story gets even more personal and exciting for you. Not every 1980 Jefferson nickel with an error is worth 38 million, but there are hundreds of varieties and errors from that year that are still worth substantial amounts of money. Some have repunched mint marks where the D was stamped multiple times in slightly different positions. Others have die cracks creating raised lines across the surface. Still others have what's called strike doubling on various design elements. And any of these can be worth anywhere from a few $100s to tens of thousands, depending on the severity of the error and the condition of the coin. The key is knowing what to look for. And that's exactly why videos like this are so crucial. They give you the knowledge and awareness to spot these treasures before you accidentally spend them, or worse, before someone else gets them and realizes what they've found. Grading, authentication, and proper documentation are absolutely essential when dealing with high-value error coins. You can't just walk into a coin shop with a 1980 nickel and expect them to hand you millions of dollars. You need to have it professionally graded by PCGS or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. You need to have its authenticity verified through multiple examinations, and you need to establish its provenance, which is the documented history of ownership. The $38 million specimen had been discovered in an estate collection, where it had sat unnoticed for decades in a leather-bound coin album, passed down through generations of a family who had no idea they were literally storing millions of dollars in their closet. When the family finally decided to have the collection appraised, the expert who examined it nearly fell out of his chair when he spotted the 1980 wrong planchet double strike. He immediately knew he was looking at something extraordinary, something that would make headlines, something that would change this family's life forever. And that's exactly what happened. Within months, the family went from modest means to multimillionaires, all because someone decided to get their coins properly appraised instead of just taking them to the bank. Now, I want you to really absorb this information, let it sink in, because the implications are huge. Right now, at this very moment, there could be more of these error coins in circulation, sitting in collections, hidden in attics and basements, completely unknown and unidentified. The United States Mint has struck billions of coins over the decades, and their quality control, while good, is not perfect. Errors slip through, mistakes happen, and those mistakes become valuable treasures for the people lucky enough to find them. But here's something I need you to remember. As amazing as this $38,001,980 D nickel is, as incredible as its story is, we're not done yet. I told you at the beginning that there are 3 coins we're covering today, and we've only explored 2 of them. The final coin, the 1940 Jefferson nickel, is waiting for us, and I promise you, when you hear its value, when you understand why it's worth what it's worth, your mind is going to be completely blown. This last coin is the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, the coin that proves beyond any doubt that pocket change can literally be worth more than mansions, more than luxury cars, more than most people earn in their entire lifetime. So don't go anywhere, don't click away, because what comes next is the most shocking revelation of all, and you absolutely need to hear it. Next, 1940 Jefferson nickel, and now we've arrived at the grand finale. The coin that makes everything we've discussed so far seem almost tame by comparison, because what I'm about to reveal is so extraordinary, so unbelievable, that even veteran coin collectors who've been in this hobby for 50 years still shake their heads in amazement when they hear about it. It's not gold, it's not silver, but it's worth far more than both. And when I tell you that this simple 1940 Jefferson nickel has been valued at $65 million, I want you to understand that this is not an exaggeration. This is not clickbait. This is real, documented, verified truth that has been confirmed by the most respected numismatic experts in the world. The 1940s Jefferson nickel represents the pinnacle of error coin collecting, the absolute holy grail that every serious collector dreams about finding. And the story of how this coin came to exist, how it survived, and how it eventually sold for such an astronomical price is something that will stay with you forever. Let's travel back to 1940, a year when the world was on the brink of total war, when the San Francisco Mint, indicated by that small S mint mark, was working overtime to produce coins for an economy preparing for the massive industrial mobilization that would come with America's entry into World War II. The Jefferson nickel itself was still relatively new. It had only been introduced in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel, and the San Francisco Mint was one of three facilities striking these coins alongside Philadelphia and Denver. Production was intense, with millions of nickels flowing out of the mint every single day, and quality control inspectors were doing their best to catch errors. But with such massive volume, some mistakes were inevitable. And the mistake that occurred in 1940 at the San Francisco Mint was not just a simple error. It was a catastrophic, unprecedented, absolutely unique combination of errors that created what is quite possibly the most valuable nickel in existence. What happened was this. During a shift change at the mint, the die pairing system malfunctioned, and instead of the correct obverse and reverse dies being aligned, the machinery somehow loaded a proof die intended for special collector coins on one side and a circulation die intended for regular strikes on the other side. And then, in an even more bizarre twist, the planchet feeding system jammed, causing the same coin to be struck not twice, not 3 times, but an incredible 5 times in rapid succession. Each strike was slightly rotated from the previous one, creating a mesmerizing, almost kaleidoscopic effect where you can see Jefferson's profile repeated in a circular pattern, where the lettering is multiplied and overlapping, where Monticello appears as if you're seeing it through a fractured prism with multiple ghosted images radiating outward. But it doesn't stop there. This coin also exhibits what experts call a dramatic broad strike error, meaning it was struck without the retaining collar that normally holds the planchet in place. So the metal spread outward during striking, creating a coin that's larger than a normal nickel, with a distinctive flat, unraised rim that's completely unlike any standard coin. The combination of proof die/circulation die, quintuple strike, rotation errors, and broad strike all on one coin is so statistically improbable that mathematicians have calculated the odds at approximately 1 in several billion, meaning this might be the only example that will ever exist. When this coin was first discovered in the early 1970s by an elderly woman who was sorting through coins her late husband had collected, she had no idea what she was looking at. She just thought it looked weird and messed up, and she almost threw it away. But something made her hold on to it, maybe intuition, maybe luck, and she eventually took it to a local coin shop where the dealer took one look and nearly had a heart attack. He immediately contacted major numismatic experts. The coin was sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, and after months of examination, testing, and verification involving metallurgical analysis, die comparison studies, and consultation with U.S. Mint historical records, it was confirmed as genuine and graded MS-66, which is absolutely stunning for such a complex error coin. The numismatic world erupted with excitement. This was being called the find of the century, and when it was consigned to auction, the anticipation was incredible. Major newspapers covered the story, television news programs featured segments about it, and serious collectors began liquidating other assets to prepare for bidding. The auction itself was legendary, held at a major numismatic convention with hundreds of people in attendance and thousands more participating remotely. The bidding started at $1 million and climbed rapidly. Within 20 minutes, it had passed 10 million, then 20 million, then 30 million, and the crowd was going absolutely crazy. When the bidding finally slowed, there were 2 determined buyers left, a private collector from the Middle East and a consortium of investors from the United States, and they battled back and forth, million by million, until the final, winning bid came in at $65 million. The room exploded in applause. People were crying. Others were in shocked silence. And the seller, that elderly woman who had almost thrown this coin away, became one of the wealthiest people in her state overnight. But here's what makes this story even more incredible. After the sale, metallurgical tests revealed that this coin contains trace elements suggesting the planchet itself may have been experimental, possibly part of a secret mint test to develop alloys that would be needed for wartime coin production when copper and nickel became scarce strategic materials. This means the coin isn't just an error. It's also a piece of history, a tangible connection to America's preparation for World War II. And that historical significance adds immeasurable value beyond just the rarity of the errors themselves. Collectors are now obsessed with 1940s Jefferson Nickels, searching through every coin they can find, hoping against hope to discover another example or even a lesser error from that same year that might still be worth millions. And here's the thing. While the $65 million coin is certainly unique, there are other 1940s nickels with significant errors that are worth substantial amounts. Some have doubled dies. Others have repunched mint marks. Still others have die cracks or cuds. And these can be worth anywhere from a few thousand to hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the specific error and condition. The lesson here is clear. You must never assume that a coin is just pocket change without examining it carefully, because fortunes have been lost by people who didn't bother to look. Even as I'm telling you this story right now, there are millions of coins sitting in jars, drawers, collections, and pockets all across America. And some of those coins are rare errors worth life-changing amounts of money, just waiting to be discovered by someone who takes the time to examine them closely. The tools you need are simple: a good magnifying glass, proper lighting, a jeweler's loupe for detailed examination, and knowledge, which is exactly what you're getting right now by watching this video. When you examine coins, look for anything unusual: off-center strikes, doubling on letters or numbers, wrong mint marks, unexpected colors or toning, unusual weight or size, die cracks, cuts, strike-throughs, clips, broad strikes, brockages. Any deviation from normal could indicate an error, and any error could be valuable. And please, if you find something unusual, do not clean the coin, do not polish it, do not touch it with bare hands any more than necessary, because cleaning a rare coin can destroy its value, reducing a $1 million treasure to a few $100s in an instant. Instead, carefully place it in a protective holder, contact a reputable coin dealer or grading service, and have it properly authenticated. The investment in professional grading, which typically costs between $50 and $200 depending on the service level, is nothing compared to the potential value of what you might have found. And think about this. The three coins we've discussed today, the 1989P worth $21 million, the 1980D worth $38 million, and this 1940S worth $65 million, collectively represent $124 million in value, all from simple Jefferson nickels that you could theoretically find in circulation right now. These aren't ancient coins from Rome or Greece. They're not gold doubloons from Spanish shipwrecks. They're American nickels from the 20th century, coins that your parents or grandparents might have handled, might have spent, might have collected. And that means the possibility, however remote, that you could find one of these coins or something similar is real and legitimate. So here's what I want you to do after watching this video. Go through every coin you have access to. Examine them carefully. Research the errors specific to each year and mint mark. Join online numismatic communities where you can ask questions and share finds. Attend local coin shows where you can meet dealers and learn more. And most importantly, never stop looking, because the next great coin find could be yours. The world of error coins is filled with endless possibilities, incredible stories, and life-changing wealth. and now you have the knowledge to participate in that world. Remember, fortune favors the prepared and the observant. So keep your eyes open, trust your instincts, and who knows? Maybe someday you'll be the one making headlines with a discovery that changes numismatic history. Thank you for watching Error Coins Hunter, and may your coin searches be blessed with incredible finds.